11 times since 1919. One colt of all the others of his generation has possessed the speed and courage and luck to win 3 grueling events which make up the most coveted series in sports: the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes, the American Triple Crown. I'm J.B. Falconer, and I'm standing in the winner's circle here at Belmont Park, only a few yards from the finish line, the spot where the Triple Crown annually reaches its climax. This trophy, established by the Thoroughbred Racing Associations and presented to Triple Crown champions, is symbolic of the 3 races which must be won. The Triple Crown begins each spring on the first Saturday in May at Churchill Downs, Louisville, Kentucky, with the annual Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby. More than 100,000 pack the stands in the infield of the track with the twin spires. What brings them? The Kentucky Derby is a bit of Americana, like the World Series, the Indianapolis 500, or the Super Bowl. The Kentucky Derby transcends sports. It is akin to a holiday, a nostalgic connection with the past. Part sport, part hype, part business. It is unique in American racing, and it is the foundation of the Triple Crown. The Derby is the first race as long as 1.25 miles for 3-year-olds, that age group for which the Triple Crown races are reserved. The Derby is also central in the thinking of all who breed, own, train, or ride the thoroughbred. It lasts 2 minutes, but it is basic in the life of the racehorse. No foal gallops off from his fellows in the field. No yearling stands majestically in the auction ring. No 2-year-old shows promise of a summer afternoon without planting hope. The seed of hope that this someday be a Derby winner. After the Derby, the winner has but 2 weeks to prepare for the next onslaught, the second jewel in the Triple Crown. The Preakness at Baltimore's Pimlico Racetrack is slightly shorter than the Derby, being run at 1 3/16 miles. It is a Maryland festival, in recent years becoming more than a race the turf regards as important. It's a statewide observance. If a 3-year-old is good enough and fit enough and gallant enough to win both the Derby and the Preakness, he is then entitled 3 weeks later to face yet another test. This is the Belmont Stakes, oldest and longest of the 3 races. Inaugurated in 1867, the Belmont is a race of 1.5 miles and is thus an American counterpart for England's greatest race, the Epsom Derby. The Triple Crown, then, is a 3-way test of all that is important in the racing horse: speed, stamina, and courage, plus the physical hardiness to keep his competitive edge for 3 great races in scarcely more than a month. The first Triple Crown champion was Sir Barton in 1919. Sir Barton was one of 5 Kentucky Derby winners bred by John E. Madden here at Hamburg Place. Sir Barton was late to develop as a racehorse and had not earned his first dollar at the races when Madden sold him for $10,000 to J.K.L. Ross, a Canadian railroad tycoon. The Ross hopes for a Derby triumph were thought to ride with Billy Kelly, and Sir Barton was widely believed to be merely a pacemaker. Sir Barton set the pace all right, but he just kept going and won the Run for the Roses by 5 lengths over his stablemate. Sir Barton also led all the way in the Preakness and then concluded the first Triple Crown sweep by setting a new American record time in the Belmont Stakes. 11 years passed between Sir Barton's triumph and the next occasion of a sweep of the 3 American classics. Clem McCarthy, a great announcer of his day, described the 1930 Kentucky Derby.
Despite the weather, Churchill Downs was packed for the 56th running of the Kentucky Derby. England's Lord Derby, whose family name was given to Britain's greatest race, was a distinguished visitor and posed for the cameras with Joseph E. Widener and Colonel Matt Wynn. 14 3-year-old colts and 1 filly paraded to the post in the rain over a good track. Gallant Fox wore number 7, and Earl Sandy, trying for his 3rd Derby victory, was in the saddle. In the stretch, it was Gallant Fox in the lead, with Gallant Knight and Crack Brigade. The Fox of Bel Air was too much for them, and Sandy brought him on to win easy.
In Gallant Fox's year, the Preakness was run before the Kentucky Derby, and Gallant Fox had already won at Pimlico. In the Belmont Stakes, Gallant Fox was again ridden by the great Earl Sandy, whom William Woodward had lured out of retirement with a lucrative promise of 10% of the colt's earnings. That was to amount to more than $30,000 for Sandy, as Gallant Fox easily won the Belmont Stakes to become our second Triple Crown champion, and then went on to become the first horse ever to win $300,000 in a single season. He was trained by Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, who in later years would develop such champions as Nashua and Bold Ruler. The Epsom Derby, forerunner of our Kentucky Derby, was first run in 1780, and it became known as the Blue Ribbon of the Turf. Joining it through an evolution of importance were the 2,000 guineas and the St. Leger Stakes, and these three became the Triple Crown of England. Still a most coveted prize 200 years later. 5 years after Gallant Fox won the Triple Crown, he became the first winner of the series to sire another Triple Crown champion. Newsreel cameras were again on hand.
A drizzling, rainy day in old Kentucky, but 50,000 are here to see 18 thoroughbreds battle it out for a mile and a quarter in America's most spectacular race of the year. And here at the post, high-strung, nervous, excited thoroughbreds raring to go. They're off! Thundering down the straightaway past the roaring stand, St. Bernard is in front by half a length with Flat Eye, number 16, moving up, and Psychic Fit, number 8, on his heels. And as the pack closes in on the first turn, it's Flat Eye and St. Bernard who are challengers for the lead. In the rainy haze, Omaha can be seen moving up fast. In the burning drive to the wire, Omaha, number 11, shows his heels to Whiskalow on the rail. But here comes Roman Soldier nearest the camera. He makes his bid and puts Whiskalow behind. It's now Omaha, Roman Soldier, and Whiskalow. Jockey Saunders in Omaha, number 11, coaxes the big chestnut colt, who responds with a blaze of speed and comes onto the wire, paying 4-1.
Only a week later at Pimlico, Omaha came out for the Preakness. Omaha's sire, Gallant Fox, had been referred to as a triple event winner, matching the record of Sir Barton. Well, triple event did not catch on as a title, but when riders began to explain the duplication by Omaha of his sire's record, the Derby, Preakness, and Belmont got the tag Triple Crown. Daily Racing Form columnist Charles Hatton generally is recognized as having made the first use of the phrase to describe the three American classics. Omaha's winning margin in the Preakness was 6 lengths, and although his Belmont was run on a dark, overcast day, nothing could stand in the way of the big colt and his 20-year-old jockey, Smoky Saunders. A young and happy Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons had scored a unique consecutive win for owner William Woodward with Gallant Fox, and now Omaha. By 1937, Churchill Downs was the place to be on the first Saturday of May, and the Derby was firmly established as the race. Samuel Riddle, owner of Man o' War, had not allowed his great 3-year-old to be entered in the Derby of 1920, feeling that the mile and quarter was too much to ask of a young horse that early. However, when a brilliant son of Man o' War came along in 1937, Riddle changed his mind. War Admiral had great speed, and his jockey Charlie Kurtzinger sent him to the front early in the bulky field of 20. Whether the added importance of the Derby or just 17 years of hindsight made Riddle change his mind, his decision to run War Admiral was correct. For the son of Man o' War won by some 2 lengths in the second fastest Derby then on record. The Preakness proved far tougher, for Pompoon cut the quarter for home sharply and got through on the rail. They ran together throughout the stretch, but War Admiral never let the other colt get the lead. War Admiral often caused trouble at the start, and in the Belmont, this was very nearly a disaster. Acting up, he cut himself on the right forefoot and left a trail of blood throughout the mile and a half. This was not enough to stop War Admiral or even make the race close. But Kurtzinger was concerned by the injury after the race. War Admiral came back to be a great horse at 4, and he later was America's leading stallion, as his own sire had been. The 5th Triple Crown champion was one of the most popular horses the American public had ever seen. Whirl Away, a spectacular stretch runner. Whirl Away helped usher in the era of Calumet Farm, Ben Jones and Eddie Arcaro. Whirl Away was a handful to train and a handful to ride, with a tendency to race wide on the turn for home. Trainer Ben Jones took drastic measures. He called for jockey Eddie Arcaro to replace Whirl Away's regular rider and fitted the chestnut colt with blinkers with a closed cup on the right-hand side. If he could not see on the right, he would not likely veer in that direction. None of the precautions actually mattered. Whirl Away had to go around horses on the turn for home, but he absolutely annihilated his opposition, winning by 8 lengths in a new Kentucky Derby time record that stood for 20 years. Never had Mr. Longtail or Jockey Arcaro been in better form. The Preakness was to be another great race for Whirl Away. A youthful Alfred Vanderbilt greeted the late Warren Wright, builder of Calumet Farm. Whirl Away was off coolly in the Preakness and was a distant last going into the first turn. The newsreel announcer caught the flavor of his spectacular move.
Whirl Away returns to the picture. Jockey Arcaro takes him wide to racing room, then calls on the colt for all he's got. Look at him come. Whirl Away moving up, coming fast, traveling wide open. It's another Derby climax. Whirl Away now running fourth. He's third. He's second. He's closing on King Cole. He looks him in the eye, and Whirl Away is out in front.
When he was ready, Whirl Away had moved from 7th to 1st in a quarter of a mile and won easily by more than 5 lengths. The shattered opposition tried to slow down the pace in the Belmont, but Arcaro saw through this plan and took Whirl Away to the lead early, winning easily. Whirl Away was America's champion at 3 and again at 4, and he became the first racehorse to earn $500,000.